Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Tuesday, October 22nd. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. Everything that we're talking about is for educational purposes only. So, a little bit of a recap for today to start. Markets indices opened in the red for the second day in a row. A little bit of an overnight pressure, but there's a little bit of the buy the dip mentality depending on which area. I think you've got a little bit more macro headlines that have been kind of washing through. We know that we've got the election in a couple weeks. We know that bond yields, just as a continuation from yesterday, bond yields have been moving higher. Although today, we talked about yesterday how that there was a big level taken out, right? Virgin point of control taken out. Interesting, virgin point of control to virgin point of control. Now there was one in the middle here too, but this is a logical place for a bounce. But again, bear in mind, a bounce. It's not a change in trend, but I think that bonds could get a little bit more of a bounce than just up 10 basis points for today. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Reminder: 20-year bond auction tomorrow. All right. So anyway, that causing a lot of issues. For example, the home builders. Right. We talked about how the home builders were very weak yesterday. Talk about follow through to the downside. Again, I would have to think that that's the reason why that group is moving down. It's funny. I was looking at this group as we headed into the new week because it has the possibility of breaking higher here. And I did put a couple names on my watch list for the week. Right. That's always the process. Right. Go through some name. Go through a group. Check out what names you might be interested in. Kind of wait for them to trigger. Right. It's all about kind of and I use the poker analogy quite frequently in trading. Right. You can always kind of take a look at the cards and decide whether or not you want to play. You could also use the baseball analogy too, considering that the World Series is going to start in a couple of days. I believe they're starting it on Friday, which is odd to me. But anyway, I'll stay on track. You could take as many pitches as you want. So you can kind of look, take a look at it at a pitch, but you don't have to swing at it. Nobody's going to count strikes versus you in trading versus in baseball, right? You can only take 3 strikes before and then you strike out. So baseball, you could take as many looks as you want to, and I think this is a good example. If you didn't have anything in this space, or if you looked and you decided not to, then I think that to me, that also for me is a win when I stay out of things that are moving down like this. All right, so I just wanted to cover that. We'll talk about some of the names or the groups that went down first. ITA got absolutely smoked today, and really no comeback. So again, I mentioned that there was buy the dip mentality that took place today, but not so much in things like this. And earnings are going to be the driver too. We've been talking about that now, kind of prepping for that for a week, but it doesn't mean always to the upside. GE was down 9%. Lockheed Martin, remember that stock, how great that was last quarter, down 6% after earnings. HWM, which I was actually holding this name today, and I got out of it earlier. I know nobody on Twitter has any losers, right? So, but in the real world, you have to manage losers. And I've talked about that all year long, that how you manage your losers is really going to, I don't want to say going to, but could make or break how you're performing for the year. If you have big losers, you have to have even big winners to offset them. So my whole what I try to do is just avoid the big losers. And I took this name off. Where'd this thing close? It closed at 102.65. Where did I sell this thing? 102. Yeah, probably right around the lows of the day. But again, I hit 2 targets in that trade to the upside, and then once it went down on this movement today, I got out of it. 102.65. It looks like is where this thing's closed. All right, let's talk about. So that's where the biggest losers were for the day. Builders and aerospace. Let's talk about first of all SPY, and then we'll talk about. So we'll kind of come in the middle of this, because I think SPY is kind of it seems to have the main thing that I see is we still have the breakout as active, right? So that's number one. We're above the October value area. Number two, we're right around this 5-period moving average. So, momentum has kind of we've lost that upside momentum a bit, and you could see this with breadth too. There's just not a lot of names. In fact, this is the first day. Let me switch this. This is the first day in about a month where I think it was October 4th, where new 4-week lows were actually higher than 4-week new highs, right? For the last couple of weeks, right? Going back to, let's say, somewhere in the middle of last week, we've been seeing breadth expansion, right? And you could look at this in terms of how my sector sheet is too, right? And this is just a gauge of relative strength, relative weakness, and short-term momentum. I'm looking at the 5, 20, and 50-day moving average here. And notice that there's not a lot of name, going back to where we were on Friday, if you read my Substack report, there was a bunch of there was about 75% of these were green, indicating strength, right, above the 5, 20, and 50-day moving average. A lot different looking now. Tech, obviously gold miners, which have been on an absolute tear along with gold. Metals and mining, also some strength. There's a lot of overlap there, and the semis are doing well. So I would say a little bit of a flight to safety. Now you might think, oh, flight to safety, like what's he talking about, consumer staples or something like that? No, I'm talking about tech, right? So that is also where I think folks are kind of hiding out a little bit. This happens a lot when I don't want to say happens a lot, but it has happened when yields rise, because a lot of these companies, as I talked about in yesterday's video, they've got a lot of cash, and they're fully, like, they've refinanced their debt, right? So again, I talked about this in yesterday's video. So before I get to talking a little bit about tech, just to wrap up SPY, a little bit of bending but not breaking, right? We broke both here yesterday. We had this 1-hour bar that breached the value area but did not close there. Then in the overnight market, so this was pre-market, this was around like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, price went below here, but buyers kind of stepped back in. Did buyers do anything to really move the needle to the upside? No, we're just it's a little bit of a choppy scenario. And like I said, the main key for me is that we've lost some upside momentum. Qs still are trying to figure out what to do around this virgin point of control, right? And you could see just exploring the range, but did close above the 5-period moving average. And I think we closed very similar to where we closed yesterday, right? A little bit of a battle. And for now, like, this is what's working in terms of buying the dip, right? Buying the dip worked yesterday here, and it worked today. And again, and I think that there's a reason for that. I think that this is where investors want to be right now. IWM, not so much. Let's go to the daily chart. I think IWM is now down for the month, I believe. Let's go to this little chart here. We have month to date. Nope, they're about flat. So right now, and again, this is crazy because I think IWM was leading as we were on Friday. I think this was leading the other sectors, but it's kind of given back some gains, and it's now S&P and the Qs, which are neck and neck in terms of performance for the month, up about 1.6%. Still not bad. But here we are, maybe this 20-day moving average might find some support, right? And there is a little bit of an upward trajectory here, slightly higher high from where we were here, and a little bit of higher lows here too. But still, I think this is, I think there's better places to be. I've said this now for a while versus small caps. I think they're too difficult for most people unless you're really good at timing bottoms and tops. Then I think this is a harder trade. And this kind of looks like here, by the way, like a little bit loss of momentum here. And you could see that with the RSI move down, and this kind of looks like a bear flag to me. So I would be careful of that. 217.56. Also, so let's talk about tech. So, I have been, I have a watch list that I put out to members every day, which is just the great 8 names. Some people say Magnificent 7. I call them great 8 because I include Netflix and Tesla. I guess other people don't, but I look for opportunities, and a lot of times it's been Nvidia. That's been the strongest name. But I look today, and you kind of look for setups. This was my trade of the day. This worked really well, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do. Friday was MSTR was really strong. That was a nice trade and a break higher for me. Today it was Microsoft, right? And I just noticed, I'm like, Microsoft looks like it wants to break higher. Now, I was very quick to take targets because I haven't been trading Microsoft that much. There's been a lot of these things. There's been a lot of false starts, right? Flag, 5 yard penalty, right? Move back to the line of scrimmage. Try to break higher, flag, go back to the line. How do you like all my sports analogies? Right? I threw baseball, I threw a little poker in there, and now I got football. False start, 5 yard penalty, back to the line of scrimmage. So I took targets very quickly on this move, and there's a VPOC. I'm still holding my very last portion of the position. Let's see if I can get up to 431. But obviously, there's a little bit of resistance in here too. But hey, it's nice to find something like this. It's nice to find a mover like this when the overall market is a little bit stagnant and the breadth has been declining, right? And again, here's this list here. I just wanted to rehash this for you, but notice 22 4-week new highs and 77 new lows today. Again, this is 4-week, so it's a little bit faster than it's a little bit faster than looking at 52-week new highs. And by the way, still 15 new highs on the list and 4 on the new low list. All right. What else did I want to show you in terms of breadth? Well, I think just looking at some of the earnings results, right? And I did add 3 new names to the earnings gap list, strength list. That's MLI, HRI, and PM. All right. So some nice strength there, and I can actually just bring this up. Let's see. Not this screen. Apologies. Yeah, here we go. So here were some of today's movers, and again, very interesting to me. So there's the MLI, which is up 14%, right? So in industrials who did very well, PM did extremely well on Zinn sales booming. That's a breakout for PM, right? So it kind of makes PM more interesting when you've got a product that does this, that helps the product do this. But that's very, very impressive, right? For PM. And what else? A few other names that were up over 5%, just to kind of go through the movers. You could see that there was about 42 names here that were up over 2%. This is just large names, by the way, right? And there was and you could see how many more names were to the downside. GPC was down 21%. Genuine Parts plunges after very weak results. GE, I think I already mentioned that one, down 9%. So some aerospace and defense and industrial weakness. Look at Crane, was down over 6%. All right, so that kind of knocks this group back down. The industrials group, back down to the 20-day moving average. Someone asked me about this. They said, hey, what do you think of the industrials? Right. We do a Q&A every Friday. And I said, I wait till these. I said, they're a little bit too stretched to the upside. I said, I wouldn't want to really initiate many new positions up here. And lo and behold, this is just trade, a little bit of trading 101, right? The risk to reward was more to the downside, right? Too much, that the ratio is not skewed to going long this group, and stalled out a bit. So maybe let this regroup. We still have a lot more earnings to get through, but I think that right now it's basically trying to dodge some of these landmines in here. To me, that's what a lot of earnings season is, right? And you could use options for some things to the upside to try to capitalize, but there's a lot of risk when you're dealing with this. Let me just bring up post market. ENPH is down 9%. MANH, sophomore name, is down. McDonald's is down on this E. coli outbreak. Tyson Foods is down. Starbucks is down 3.6. It looks like they're like throwing out the kitchen sink, right? The CEO, new CEO's come aboard, probably wants to bring that bar down real low. So that kind of makes sense to me. These are names. Looks like a couple energy names. I did add, if you look at my watch list today, and that's where we'll end this. But Wolf has been absolutely on a tear. Core Z looks very good too. So I'm not going to go over all these charts because I did it for members earlier in the day. But I kind of like a couple things here. TRGP. I'll go over a couple charts with you, right? So this name is going to have earnings soon, but I like the break higher. This is one of the strongest energy names out there, and nice little move here. I went long Walmart last week, right? This is starting to resolve higher, new highs for Walmart, and I think it's not a bad name to be in right now. And then also, I think Costco is starting to look interesting too. Costco just got above these 5-period moving averages, right? And again, this would be kind of like a measured move type trade, maybe to the top of the value area. But I have Costco on in my long term, not long term, but TTG trend portfolio. And I like this here. Level to watch here in Costco is going to be right around where it is right now, 892.23. All right, guys, I'll leave it there. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.